Welcome to New Gameplay Today. I am Kyle Hilliard, here with Wes LeBlanc.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm also here with Alex Van Aken.
Hey, I'm excited to talk about Pacific Drive today. One of my most anticipated games of 2024.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is Pacific Drive. I am playing on PC, and to be clear, the game comes out. We were looking it up. It comes out February 22nd, and it's PC and PS5. So it's one of those funky console exclusives. And I played. Alex, you played it at an event in the past, correct?
Yeah, I played it at PAX East for about half hour. I
and
really
Wes,
liked it.
And Wes, you were like, at some point last year, you were sort of giving a presentation on the game, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to play it, but got to watch like an hour of gameplay and talk to the devs about it.
Cool, yeah. And so I'm in sort of like in between you guys, where I got a recent presentation on the game, and then I got to play. We have this preview build. And I got to play from the beginning, as near as I can tell. You're never quite sure when you're given builds like this, like exactly where you're starting, so to speak. But, I mean, it feels like I played through the intro and got all the early tutorials, and then this is like an hour and a half in or something. Like I'm on the first proper, I guess you could say, mission of the game. And it's a weird game. Like it's almost, there's a certain degree of like strangeness to it, but I admire it for that reason, in that the sort of premise is like you get stuck in Seattle, like in the woods in Seattle, in this area of the United States that's like reality is shifting.
Yeah.
And like people can't get in or out, but somehow you made your way in and now you're trying to survive. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's called the Olympic Exclusion Zone, and it's like a surreal reimagining of the Pacific Northwest is what the devs say. And like every time you have a garage that you go back to routinely, and when you leave your garage, the world changes, I believe.
Yes, yeah, like reality shift and matter shifts. Like you can even see some of it as you're driving around. Like things are just kind of morphing and changing constantly.
Yeah, basically, I mean, that's the narrative reason. Mechanically, it's a roguelite, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I haven't been able to dig into that part of it too much yet. You know, like doing like different runs and stuff. But this is kind of like the first mission, and the story conceit is like there are these people who can tell you're here, and like they can speak to you, but you don't have the ability to speak to them. Which is like such a video game conceit of like, no, your protagonist doesn't have a dialogue. Don't worry about it, because you literally can't talk to them. So they're just sort of like throwing weird instructions at you all the time of like, you got to do this to survive. Like right now, there's this woman who's telling me I need to collect these like glowing orange globes and like insert them into my car. And when I do, it will create a gate in which I can leave the area.
Yeah.
To get back to my garage.
Yeah, and as I'm not sure about your footage, but when I was playing the game, the storm, there's like a storm that gets worse and worse, and like fire starts surrounding you, the lightning, it gets very violent.
Yeah, the storm is like almost, they didn't tell me sentient, but it acts as if it is. Like it actively wants you to fail. So it's like throwing things at you to get you back in a way.
Yeah. And what's really cool is you can see right here, your door is actually called a crude door, because it's not good. You can pull parts off of other cars and find parts.
I worked hard on this vehicle.
I'm sorry, man. Do better. You can find parts throughout the world, whether on other vehicles or lying around at gas stations, and slowly pimp your ride, as it were. And get a better car, which is a really fun loop.
Yeah, I was surprised at how manual the game is. Like you've probably noticed as you've watched me play, like I'm putting the car in gear, between park and drive. Like it was funny the first time. Here I am, like filling up the gas tank with like a little gas tank that I had, it was funny because the first time I got out of the car started rolling away. you know,
Yeah.
and I like had to go sprint and like get back into it, and it's like then I was like, okay, I got to get in the habit of putting this thing in park, or else it's gonna like drive away, and like you actually have to manually do the ignition, and there are shortcut keys for like headlights and windshield wipers, but you can even like look at your dashboard and like manually press those buttons and stuff like that, which is cool and makes it all very like it feels like a proper simulation.
Yeah, to the like roguelike structure too. You're not, from what I can tell, you're not like upgrading your character or leveling up. Like the roguelike progression happens through your car, so you're taking your car doors from crude to whatever the next step is, and getting more gas and better tires and stuff, so you can go further out into the storm, which is really cool. It's I feel like car games don't like force you to do this much, which might be a turnoff for some people, but I don't know. It seems like an interesting take on driving games.
Yeah, and I mean I'm hesitant even to like call it like a driving game or a racing game. Like it's
definitely not a racing game. Well,
no, yeah, it's certainly not a racing.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
A car
but you do
game.
have to go high speeds, you know, like you do, but it's like it's more about. It's almost like like I don't know, like Armored Core or something, where it's like you're trying to maintain this vehicle and change out the parts, and it's like the thing that you get inside of to keep you safe in this world.
So this is the Dark Souls of racing games.
Oh God.
Yeah, Wes LeBlanc
comments
said
are
that. You can
popping
attribute that
off.
to him.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, it is a survival or a crafting game, where this is your base, right? I mean, you do have a garage that I imagine there will be some customizable elements. Wes, maybe you can speak to that. I'm not sure, but like the car is like your moving base. It's your safe haven, and you are continually upgrading it like you would in a Rust or something like that, right? You want to constantly be improving your home base. But the difference is yours is on wheels. And I'm not sure, Wes, did you get to see much of the actual garage that you are interfacing with in between runs?
Yeah, it's I don't know if customize is the right word. Like, I don't think you're making it like homey or yours, but you are like upgrading it and making your bench upgrade bench capable of producing better things, and there's like a machine to put materials in that crafts and shoots out other things for you. And I'm not sure if maybe it might be too early on for you to know, Kyle, but I think there's some customization with the car. I remember them saying like you can, I think, put like a little bobblehead or something in there, but I don't know if like you're changing the colors of the car and that kind of stuff.
I distinctly remember the bobblehead from a trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would be really surprised if you weren't, because like you're finding parts, like you're swapping out parts, and like it's weird because it's like it's this heightened thing. Like you have this car, which is what is it called, you guys? Like the type of car. It's a very
station
familiar
wagon
type of car. A station wagon, and it feels like a real car, and it feels like you're like, I find a better door, I'm going to swap in the better door. But then you also have this like goop, which I think I'll show later, that like you can just like slather onto your hood to like fix your hood and stuff like that.
I do that like all the time. Yeah.
And I saw in that regard, like you'll find pieces and you'll sort of just keep those pieces intact as long as you can. But I imagine, for the most part, I bet people playing the game, it's a single player game. I bet everyone's car is going to look a little different by the end, just because everyone's going to find different parts and different things,
Mm-hmm. How does controlling the car? You guys have both driven it. I have not. It looks a little slower, which makes sense given the type of game it is. But like, is it still fun to drive the car since that's what you're mostly doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a chunky car, you could say. So it is like slow and like it feels realistic to steer, but I was enjoying it. If that
so
makes
was
sense,
I.
right?
It's you have to be. It allows you to be deliberate. Like you can make like some pretty tight turns with it, but it definitely feels like, wow, like this thing is held together by duct tape and shoddy welding.
I also, one thing I was surprised by, which maybe I shouldn't have been, because like any time that they've talked about this game or shown it off, like it has come across as scary.
Yeah.
It like as an intense game, but playing it, I was really surprised how tense I was getting as I was sort of leading up to the end, which you will see. I do make it out of here alive. To spoiler alert, but it's like because it has that sort of like Alan Wake Woods vibe, and like storms are kicking up, and there's like these robots that I don't understand chasing me. Like and it's a roguelike. So it gets intense because you're worried about losing everything that you've sort of looted over the course of this run,
Yeah,
I
remember
something about the PNW that is just inherently eerie, especially when it rains and the light starts to go down beyond the trees. And this game does a really good job capturing that atmosphere.
The mannequins are pretty scary too. I didn't see those in my preview, so
about.
Those might be new. I
They're
saw
everywhere, man.
I think there was a run I watched there where they purposefully failed, and like to show you how intense the storm gets when it's about to like eat you alive, basically. And there's like a lot of obstacles they throw at you. I'm looking at my preview I wrote, and there's like crawlers that create electric fences, dust bunnies that throw spikes at you, abductors use magnets to drag your car around, and the ground can just erupt with pillars and trees to stop you. I don't know if it's just like so different. I don't know. It's rare that I see a game where I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone try to do this. And
same.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, because I kind of go back and forth with these kind of mechanics. It depends on the game. Like sometimes I really don't like it to be so manual, right? Like I want to just be able to like look at a map quickly. But I appreciate that like in this game, see how intense this is? This is like, I'm just trying to, I want to get out of here alive. What are you doing?
It's only first person, right? Like you can't switch to
Yes.
the more comfortable third person driving view. I think that makes it a little tougher and stressful too. I hate driving in first person. Because
I do too. And it's funny because like you can see even now I'm really taking full advantage of it in a way that I wouldn't in a typical racing game where I'm like looking all the way to the left. I'm kind of keeping an eye on my map as well. And
I love how like there's those diegetic elements, like the map being like having to physically look at it. Really
Exactly,
cool.
yes.
And it takes your eyes off the road. That adds to the tenseness as well.
yeah, it's such a little thing, but even when you get out of the car, the map will even kind of turn to the right, so you can look at it from the passenger side. So it's like you can sort of go and check. It's like, oh, I don't have to get in the car to look at the map and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really nice.
It's I certainly don't just make this call for any first-person game because I don't think it's not an instant fit. But this is one that I actually think I would be curious to see a VR sort of adaptation of it.
Yeah,
not to
that
like
makes sense. Yeah.
not to like get ahead of the game that's like it's not even out yet. I don't want to like start making this is what I hope it is in the future because like I haven't even played the full game yet. But as I was playing, I was like, the immersion of this game is like they're really killing it. Like I could see this working really well in VR as well. But even in pancake mode here, I was having a good intense time.
Yeah, the devs, Ironwood Studios, I think this is their first game. It's really impressive. I mean, obviously they've all worked in other games, but as a studio, it's just like feels like very holistic and focused in a really good way.
Yeah, like they came up with something unique and intense here. You guys know that meme where the joke is like a person says that every movie looks like Boss Baby because the only movie they've ever seen is Boss Baby?
Yes.
I feel that way sometimes about myself when it comes to the game Inside, Playdead's Inside.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've played a bajillion games over the course of my life, but so often, like I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Inside, like the most like banal, like nothing things, like or like, and this is a game where like I got that same feeling. It's certainly in the beginning. I think it's just
I think
like
it's
the
that
setting.
opening. Yeah.
It's also the sort of wooded setting and even the art direction, kind of like it's not super detailed. It's kind of like flat colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of more desaturated a bit.
Yeah, and I think, but also just the weirdness and how I don't really understand what's happening, but am like really curious to keep going.
That's
like
fair.
makes me kind of think of Inside.